There are trade-offs between when you have open-ended questions and when you have closed-ended questions. With closed-ended questions, which we use in epidemiology, what we deal with almost exclusively is quantitative data. And it's called quantitative because you are quantifying something. That's what we use to quantify burden of disease, right? So that's what we use as epidemiologists. The advantage of quantitative data is that it's very easy to answer the what. So you say, what is the prevalence of smoking? Well, we can answer that question easily. We can say the prevalence of smoking is 35%. Very easy to answer with quantitative data. Now, one of the things that quantitative data struggles with is answering the questions of why, because the question of why is very broad. And so when you want to understand the why, that's when you go to qualitative data analysis, because it explains the why, it provides context and nuance, and because people can express themselves in long sentences and you can understand the why behind the what, right? So there are trade-offs in between the two of them. So how do you analyze open-ended questions? Well, there are many ways you can do it. One is to convert them into a structured format. And those of us who are quantitative scientists, we always struggle. That's our first line of approach, right? To the guy with the hammer, everything is a nail. And so we might try to, and sometimes it's appropriate. For example, if I have a group of people living with HIV and I say, tell me, what medication are you on? That's an open-ended question, right? Then they tell me the medications they are on. I can use that information to say, okay, I'm going to classify all the things you've told me into 7 categories: protease inhibitors and NNRTIs and integrase strand inhibitors and so on and so forth, right? So in that case, I'm using open-ended question, but I'm now reducing it to categorical data, and that's appropriate given the context I'm trying to understand. And that way you can do it is to analyze the data qualitatively. So like we mentioned earlier, you could do a thematic analysis or you could do a word cloud analysis. Sometimes we might want to extract some other key data from the unstructured data. We might be interested in extracting elements like places or names or phone numbers or zip codes. So what we mean by open-ended questions, there are different types of questions that are considered open-ended. And if you want to be serious in this research business, you need to know all of these things. You need to know the different types of open-ended questions that we have. So what are the different types? Well, we have single value text questions. Those are questions where you can supply a single value. It could be a single word or it could be a single number, but it's just one item. And then you have paragraph style questions. So this is where you can answer in your own words, and answer as many words as you want. There's also multimedia questions. Those are also open-ended questions because if I say upload a file, I am not restricting your choice. You can upload anything, right? So it's still open-ended in that context. Then date and time questions are also open-ended because if I say what time works for you or what date works for you, it's open-ended. You can come up with any number you want or any date you want. So those are also open-ended questions, and you have to learn how to work with calendars too. Now, it is also very important that when you are designing a questionnaire, especially in the context of qualitative studies, you really, really want to make it conversational. The person taking the survey, right, it should almost feel as though they're having a conversation with you. And for you to achieve that, there are 2 special types of questions you have to become very familiar with. The first is called piping questions, like a pipe, and we're going to demonstrate how that works. The second type is called A/B test questions, right? So you need to become a master of all of these nuances if you're going to collect data that makes sense, that really, really elevates your research game. So why should you worry about having conversational surveys? Well, first is engagement. You want to keep your participants engaged, right? And so when the participant is taking the survey, it almost appears as if they're having a conversation with you, even though you're not there. And so it also reduces the cognitive load on the participants because you are discussing with them and well, apparently, right? And then they don't have to remember what they answered. Another benefit of conversational surveys is that it's personalized. It's almost as if you wrote a questionnaire for that one person and not for the 1,000 respondents. At least that's how they feel when they're taking the survey. It improves completion rate, like I said, because it feels as if they're having a conversation with you and they want to go to the end of that conversation. There's improved data quality, there's positive perception, and then you get better insights overall.
If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe. Click the bell icon to turn on notifications. Got questions or suggestions? Drop them in the comments below, and remember to share this video with your friends and colleagues who might find it useful. Chisquares, democratizing knowledge.